So welcome everyone to the partner community call for this month for Modern Workplace. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes to let more people join. Great, so that's hopefully given a bit of opportunity for more people to join. So just to go to the agenda, so we have a great agenda here, quite exciting news, especially from Ignite this week. But also we have some SMB news, which is actually the Microsoft 365 Business Voice launch in the UK. So first off, we'll be going through that. Then we'll be going through updates around Teams and Ignite, and then security compliance, which is Ignite, but also we have a new compliance workshop. And we also wanted to cover a little bit more on Sentinel, as that's generally available. So first, I'd like to hand over to Mark, Charlie and Charles to take us through the SMB update.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. This is Mark Burnell. I'm a solutions architect within the Microsoft 365 Center of Excellence. Been over here in the UK this week for the exciting opportunity here where we've been launched earlier this week, Microsoft 365 Business and Business Voice. And just trying to make sure I have control of the deck here. These are not moving for me, Sophie, so I might have to have you, the slides are not moving, so I might have you take over. Thank you, appreciate it. Where we made the announcement earlier this week of the new add-on that is called Microsoft 365 Business Voice. And just to give you a little level setting here, it's an add-on SKU that is intended to provide SMBs with a phone system, a domestic calling plan, and audio conferencing. The real benefit around this is that it operates on top of the Office 365 Business Essentials, Business Premium, as well as Microsoft 365 Business products, up to 300 seats. The other thing that I should mention here before I jump into this is that really this product is intended to really be, the primary target for it would be existing Office 365 customers that are presently using the business SKUs. As I go through this, and I will be going through some of the pricing details and a little bit of detail around the value proposition, we'll be able to do a deeper dive on each element of this. And so this first slide here really is intended to show Microsoft's product engineering design thoughts around the product as it evolved from a research perspective, as well as working with a number of partners over the course of the past year. And it's based upon three pillars. The first being all-in-one communications, an easy, intelligent calling, and delivered from Microsoft's trusted cloud. Next slide, please. This first pillar, all-in-one communications, really the whole intent around this product from an SMB perspective is to be able to provide customers a single application that they can access their phone system, but also have all the rich capabilities that are built into the Microsoft Teams client. And it provides all of the calling, chat, and meetings functionality in a single application, whereby they don't need to have separate applications for each of these collaboration tools. The other thing too that it's providing is really a rich built-in audio conferencing platform that's giving dial-in capability for every online meeting. And lastly, if not the most important component of this, it's really using the rich capabilities that the Office 365 platform has from an apps perspective. Next, please. The second pillar is around easy and intelligent calling. It really does provide, a solution that can utilize any type of device that can be accessed from anywhere. Does provide a single phone number across all these devices that you can see here. And, the interesting thing is a lot of the research has found that the telephone, desktop telephone, is still very, very prevalent in a lot of small businesses. As you can see in this pictorial here, is that, we do support virtually every type of device, and I will be touching on that in a few moments. The other thing too is it does really simplify things from a meetings and callings perspective. Because it is a single app, you have easy access to one-click calling, as well as the joining of meetings. Very simple and straightforward. The last piece of this is around really leveraging a lot of the intelligence that we've built into the Office 365 platform from an AI perspective. And those include things like voicemail transcription, an inline chat translation from one language to another. And then from an accessibility perspective, built-in live captioning within meetings to really be able to provide access to accommodate folks that are required from an accessibility perspective. Next slide. The last pillar of this is the fact that it is built and delivered on Microsoft's cloud. What that means is that you're getting a true rich phone system that is built on the enterprise-grade calling that we've had in Microsoft Teams now for a couple of years. And this is an important point that I want to make sure that folks understand, that the tech behind this is leveraging all of the capabilities that are built into the enterprise platform, but it's been catered towards the SMB segment. The other piece that engineering put a lot of thought and process into it is around the manageability of the product. The fact that it is all administered within the Office 365 admin portal from a setup and management perspective really is a unique differentiator, especially for small businesses, to really simplify things and being able to provide, a single provider to provide a single bill. And also, you folks, from a partner perspective, it really does make it quite easy for you to be able to manage your customer base on an ongoing basis. Next slide, please. And as you can see, I'm not going to go drain every single one of these features, but I just really wanted to point out the fact that it is truly a feature-rich phone system from the calling perspective, as well as the administration side. It has all the features that a typical small business would require from a phone system perspective. And just to highlight just a handful of them, things like Call Park, the ability to be able to have a transfer or a consultative transfer. Simple little things like music on hold that you can see here, as well as being able to have things like automated attendant and call queues. Number portability are key things that typically we found that small businesses are looking in a traditional phone system. Next slide. From a devices side of things, as I mentioned just a moment ago, we are providing a full range of handsets as well as meeting room devices that'll work on business voice. From individual devices, there's a full range of handsets to headsets, as well as single individual use speakerphones for conferencing, as well as for calling. The other thing too is around the meeting room devices. I want to make sure that a lot of folks are not lost on the fact that this is a tremendous opportunity, not only the phone system side of the business for this, but also from a meeting room perspective. We do have a full range of meeting room devices that are completely managed within Microsoft Teams and the administration portal that really simplifies it for customers. They're very cost effective and do provide the means for you to be able to build out a practice in this specific area. Next. So this is the pricing that was launched this week, and there's two SKUs. The first SKU is what we're classifying as the Hero SKU, which is Microsoft 365 Business Voice. What this SKU is, it's all inclusive. It includes the phone system, it includes the audio conferencing, and it includes domestic calling plan, which includes 1,200 minutes per user per month. These minutes are pooled at the tenant level. So if you have several individuals within a company, it's going to basically take all of those minutes and pool it at the tenant level. The decision that a customer has to make with this plan is that then they can layer on an international calling plan for an additional charge, or alternatively, they can use what we call communications credits. Again, I want to emphasize that the maximum number of seats for this product is 300 seats, and it does have a qualifying prerequisite of a base subscription of Office 365 Business Essentials, Office 365 Business Premium, or Microsoft 365 Business. You can see here that on the 5th of November, we did launch this. From an availability perspective, the primary go-to-market motion for this product for Microsoft is through CSP, but it will be available through WebDirect as well. The second SKU, add-on SKU, is the Microsoft 365 Business Voice without the calling plan. What this provides is the phone system functionality, as well as the audio conferencing. In the case of the dial tone, customers and as well as partners can leverage what we call direct routing to integrate their own trunking vis-a-vis through, for example, and this is not limited to this naturally, but companies like BT and a few others that are in the UK market. What we found is that there's a whole host of partners out there that are already building trunking, sub-trunking solutions that will integrate with this solution and have been making them available within Microsoft Teams now for the better part of over a year. Next slide. From a resource perspective, I wanted to highlight just 3 key assets that really should be your go-to to learn about the product, to also assist you with from a practice development side of things if this is a new space to you and you want to expand into it, and or if you do have a telephony practice and want to get a better understanding what you need to know to be able to plan, deploy, operate, and support this product. The first one is the partner page. You can see here that we have a dedicated partner page where all the assets can be found. The second one is the product page, which is a customer-facing page, which gives all the details on the product itself. The last one, if not the most important one, is the technical resource hub. We created a dedicated resource hub which has all of the content that you would require to be able to answer and address any questions that a customer might have. Additionally, unlike a lot of the documentation up on docs.microsoft.com, we do have a dedicated resource hub on this page to partners to give you guidance in terms of being able to, support the product as well as from a planning perspective. Next page.
Mark, just a quick question that's come in.
Sure.
Related to the previous slide. So does domestic calling in the call plan include calls to mobile?
Yes. Yes, it does. Yes. Good. I'd be happy to answer any questions that come into the feed. Right, I'm pretty much done almost at the end here. This slide is a bill of materials from a partner resource perspective, and you'll see the hyperlink down at the bottom of this page. It is, again, you can find this off of the partner webpage that I showed on the previous slide, but it really is broken down into these 4 categories: learn, market, sell, and deploy. And you will find a variety of assets in here. From a learn perspective, one of the things, again, to really reinforce here is that this is a space that's new to you from a partner perspective. And for example, if you've only been selling Office 365 thus far, maybe you have more of a collaboration practice, you want to get into this business voice telephony space, there's guidance in here to help you understand in terms of where you are from a maturity perspective and to help you build out a roadmap and a readiness plan to be able to get your organization up to speed on the new offering itself. We've included a bunch of marketing assets as well, as you can see under the market pillar. And from a sell side of things, we have a variety of assets in here that you can leverage to be able to assist you from a sales team perspective. And lastly, the deploy pillar is really oriented around your technical resources within the organization. Thanks.
Perfect. So just getting another question in.
Sure.
So what happens if a customer tips over 300 user limit?
For that 301st user, that 301st user would have to basically look at an eSKU at that point. Remember, it's capped at 300. Yep.
Yeah. So, and that obviously is already available An option.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. From a call to action perspective, really the key things that we're asking partners to do, on the practice development side, I've already discussed this. It depends on where you are from a maturity perspective and where your portfolio stands today. But take a look at the content there, understand how you can expand your practice or build it out and strengthen it in this space. Look at what your go-to-market strategy is going to be. If I can emphasize one item here on this slide more than any other, if you're not using the voice capability within Teams today, as well as the meetings functions, the best way that you can be able to effectively sell and be able to provide this product to your end customers is to start using it yourself. From a short-term customer-facing activities, what we're asking partners to do, start identifying 10 existing Office 365 customers that you have in your base and go pitch Business Voice to them. Best way to learn is to be able to get out there and have a discussion around it. Lastly, go demo Microsoft 365 Business Voice to help you land the solution value. And what we've done is we've created, if you go up to cdx.transform.microsoft.com, you will find there's a dedicated demo to this product that you can use to help, number one, familiarize yourself and your staff internally, but more importantly, be able to use it with your customers. And with that, I'm done. Is there any additional questions that folks might have?
We did have one more, which was, is this going to replace Skype for Business? Probably worth mentioning the end of support.
Yep. So if you folks hadn't seen, a few months back, we had made an announcement about the retirement of the Skype for Business Online in October of 2021. So the simple answer is yes. I should make sure that folks understand that Skype for Business Server is not going anywhere. Skype for Business Online is being retired.
Okay. That's great. And I think certainly from a call to action, some of the partners on the call may be already working with indirect CSP providers. So I think, they definitely have materials, can further support as well as a call to action.
Yes, and depending on who your indirect provider is, if you are working through one of them, we did, myself and as well as some of the folks within the UK subsidiary have been working with a handful of the partners that helped develop the product. Those include, but not limited to, naturally, it's launched now, but they included companies like Tech Data Ingram, Geocom, Rackspace, and as well as Fusion from an indirect perspective.
Perfect. So thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I personally, this is something we have been asked for a very long time from partners, especially our UK partners have been very loud and thinking about the opportunity that they have. So I'm really looking forward to our partners leveraging that. The other piece, just to recall, so it's in the UK market and the Canada market is the launch as well. So perfect. Quick question, actually, we've just had. Who is making Business Voice enabled handsets?
So there's a variety of manufacturers out there, but they include companies like Yealink, Audio Codes, Poly. Just want to make sure I'm not forgetting any of them. There are other companies that are making Teams rooms devices. Those include companies like Logitech, Lenovo, Crestron, to name a few additional.
Perfect. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to pass to Carl.
Hi, thanks Mark, great pitch. Thanks Katrina. Hi everyone, it's Carl Kochar here. I'm a technical architect working in the UK in One Commercial Partner. I've got approximately 10 minutes to cover the Microsoft Teams announcements that were delivered during Ignite. I think I counted up the number on my slide deck, that's 46. I did some maths and that gives me approximately 13 seconds to talk about each one. So I think what I've decided to do in reality is focus on the things that I believe might be important to most customers. And secondly, at the end of my slide set, I've got some links to deeper information on each of the announcements. So they're really covered in the Microsoft Teams blogs if you've not already seen them, including the guide to Ignite, where you can deep dive, hopefully, if you haven't already, next week and the following weeks, into specific areas, watch video on demand and have access to the full PowerPoints that were delivered for each of the sort of like specific topics. So let's dive into this. So the first thing I want to talk about is, hooray, customization of your Teams conversations. So private channels is now here. I think this has been a request that our mutual customers have had for a long time now, and we released it or announced it during Ignite. The thing to note here, if you're not familiar with the capability, it's within a team. You might be familiar with the channel construct. Private channels allows a subset of the membership of the team to participate in a channel, and only those folks within that channel have access to the content that's published there. There's lots of policy and management that we built into this solution, which again, when you go through the manual set, which is available on the web now, you'll be able to obviously understand and then articulate to our mutual customers. It's also available in the tenants themselves. I checked out a test tenant of mine recently, and it's there. So it's there, available. It's going to add a lot of, I think, value to end users, and it's something that you should definitely start to look at if you're pitching this technology to our customers. And the next thing, again, which we'll be rolling out next year, so it's a little bit further down the path, is the ability to have multi-windows. And that in simple terms, that's the ability to have multiple chat windows open at the same time, which again, from a usability perspective, has been something that customers have been asking for. And I've got a couple of screenshots at the bottom of this made up slide that I produced for this session, which just gives you an indication. So you can see the sub-teams conversation gives you that lock icon, which tells the population that this is a private channel. And on the right hand side, you can see we've got a pop-up chat window there in the screenshot. So again, that should give you some context of what I'm talking about. Other items on this part of the announcements is a client for Linux. Again, for a subset of customers, that's really actually quite important. Pin channels is something I've been using all the time since I've had it available. It's the ability for the channels that I work in mostly of the time to actually pin them, and that they appear at the top of my Teams list, and it is a really quite convenient place to go and actually just quickly work in the channels that I need to. And then the final thing on this slide is that we're actually as a application extension. So at the bottom of the message extension bar, later this year, we're going to allow programmatically you to be able to access polls and surveys, which will obviously in the context of maybe a process is going to be really helpful. So the next few things I want to talk about are around some integration between Teams and some of the other apps within the platform. The first one is the ability to actually much more easily take a conversation that's happening in an email, a thread, and actually transition that across to a Microsoft Teams chat or channel. And that's going to be really helpful when maybe you've started off in email, but it actually makes logical sense for whatever reason to transition that into Teams. There's going to be a much easier way than doing it rather than just posting it to an email address. And that's something that's shown pictorially on the left-hand side of the slide. And you'll be able to do the same from a Teams context. You'll be able to take a conversation that's happening in Teams and actually post that to Office 365 as well. So again, you'll have this cross-pollination of conversations as an ability between those two services. Next thing I'll talk about is tasks. So tasks is obviously something that most people have to do, unfortunately, in their day-to-day role. What we're doing here is we're actually combining or consolidating tasks across Microsoft To Do, Planner and Outlook, and they'll be exposed within the Microsoft Teams environment. And you can see there's a little task app there, and it's really a really great centralization of that I suppose function that we'll make available to our mutual end users or customers. And the final thing on the slide is Yammer. So the thing there is that we'll have an app for Yammer in Teams. You'll be able to pin it to the taskbar and access all your Yammer sort of like groups directly from Teams, and it's going to make the experience a lot more joined up for people who may want to use both services. Now, in terms of meetings, which is a massive area for us, whiteboards now generally available. If you haven't had an opportunity to look at that, absolutely do. It's something that you should be demoing to customers all the time. Live captions, again, is the introduction of more intelligence into the system, so that when I talk, my speech will be turned into text, and which means, or other people's speech will be turned into text, which means it, from an accessibility perspective, it makes the meeting more inclusive. We've put some new attendee and presenter controls in, so we can start to put some policies about what people can do in the meetings. This is a big one, I think, for a number of organisations. In the next 30 days, we'll have our first iteration of Teams calling and meetings available for a virtual desktop environment. So again, look out for the next tranche of announcements on that. Another one is quite interesting from an interop perspective. Again, for larger customers, this is a big deal. We've announced video interop with Cisco. Check out the blog for more details. And we actually have been working with Cisco and Zoom for a way of actually having direct guest join access into each other's services. It's going to be based on web technology, and our next generation meeting room, Microsoft Meeting Room technology, will have web clients built in, which will allow us to do that. Again, very exciting, but won't be available until early next year. And then we've got some new kit, collaboration bars, with the idea behind that is enabling meeting rooms or smaller meeting rooms to be included into that intelligent meeting experience that we have within Microsoft Teams. The first bits of kit which will allow us to start to provision smaller meeting rooms, maybe with a screen or a TV, the kit is produced by Poly. I think it's the X30 and the X50, and also Yealink. The VC210 has been created to allow us to provision those types of rooms, and you'll see more vendors or different vendors produce kit around that space as well. And then we've got a new speakerphone capability which have a Microsoft Teams button, and the first one off the shelf for that is actually Yealink. They've already got that in market, and it's the CP900. And if you're not familiar with Teams in terms of the device portfolio, we actually have a full certification program, and those devices will be included or are included on those web pages. So you can search for those online or reach out to your Microsoft rep and they'll provide you the details. First line workers, as you know, is a huge opportunity for all of us, and absolutely a way that jointly we can create real value for our mutual customers. What we've done in Ignite is announce some great capabilities which will make life easier in some respects for first line workers, in terms of one-time SMS based signing, off shift access, and this is quite an interesting one where the first line worker will need to just accept that they're accessing their apps out of office hours or out of shift hours. And again, there may be some, in different countries, some regulatory benefit in being able to do that, or it may just be sort of work-life balance policies within the organisation, but that's going to be a feature that's rolling out. And also global sign out, which again is important. So again, more details to follow around that. Delegated user management, which again is a capability in a first line worker world, where the managers will be able to handle credentials for their teams and also password resets. And the idea behind that is take some of the workload, if it's set up and configured as policy, off IT. So again, it's allowing the managers to handle some of the issues their team members have directly, rather than having to sort of like raise a support case. And then we've got a bunch of two-way graph API enhancements to work with third-party workforce management apps who may want to piggyback onto the Shifts application that we have. This is really quite a very interesting one. The virtual consults is, consider it as a an inbuilt remote expert business to consumer capability that we're launching in Teams. It's currently in private preview. I've played with this a bit actually, and I see so many use cases for it across a multitude of verticals where you want to reach out to a customer or somebody outside of your organization and arrange some form of consultation with proper invites going out across email for a productive Teams meeting, and then having reminders built into the system as well, and being able to dictate what team members are going to be part of the consultant community. It really is going to be, I think, quite an interesting proposition for a lot of our customers. And then the second thing on this slide is based on the FHIR protocol in terms of healthcare, is using Teams as a repository for secure records management. And again, there's a lot of use cases which, again, I would suggest that we could start to look at jointly in this area. Just waiting for the slide to update. It seems to have gone to sleep. Sophie, yeah, can you advance the slide? Thank you. I'll quickly talk about some of the security enabled features that we've got here. We've got also things like cert catalogs, which again, certified app catalogs, sorry, which are rolling out next year, which is the ability to go through all of the applications in the enterprise catalog that you may have enabled by policy, and understand more about them in terms of their certification, their security, compliance, etc. And again, that allows you to make informed decisions with your customers about which ones are fit for purpose based on their vertical, their business practice, that type of thing. Policy packages is just a grouping of policies into a package to make life simpler for admins. The important one here for a lot of organisations that have advanced threat protection is SafeLinks is now going to be in Teams. I don't have a date for that, but it is coming, so which is great news. And the final thing I'll mention on this slide is that retention policies are being cut down from 30 days to 1 day by the end of the year. And this is for some customers who because Teams is a persistent environment, some customers want to actually delete data out of Teams, maybe chats, just for to adhere to their internal policies. And by the end of the year, they'll be able to take that deletion policy down to 1 day. Again, we've got a huge amount going on around the Power Platform and Teams. The long and short of it is that you'll be able to publish Power Apps as Teams apps moving forward. You'll be able to pin Power Apps directly into the Teams bar. And then we're creating some new capabilities around actions and triggers within the Teams environment, so that end users can very simply create their own automation based on maybe somebody joining a team, a connector publishing some information in a team. So again, we're empowering the Power Platform and also end users to start to automate and more easily access automation within the environment. And again, the final thing on here is a Power BI interactive card, which again is part of the customization experience that you'll be able to create for Teams users moving forward. We've got last couple of slides. We've got a bunch of huge number of voice enhancements, which are all applicable to that business voice proposition that Mark eloquently spoke about earlier on. I think I'll just pick out a few areas here for time reasons. Is firstly, you can see here we've got some new SBCs supported for direct routing. Cisco is amongst them, which is, given their installed base, is absolutely incredibly useful for our customers, so they can sweat that asset to migrate to Teams. And also we've announced new certified or certification programs for contact center and also compliance recording. And in our voice world that we work with customers, those are those two are big asks, and there's much more detail around that in the blog. So again, I definitely encourage you to read up on that, and you'll see more announcements coming around that all the time. So very quick roundup there. Apologies if I went slightly over, but there was 46 things to talk about. I think I covered most of them quickly. If you need more information, there's the what's new in Microsoft Teams, the Microsoft and Cisco announcements are covered in a bit more detail, and also the new for calling blog is there. Maybe the deep dive information is covered in the guide at the top here. That's where, as individuals, you can go in and look at specific pitches on specific topics and look at the VODs associated with those. So that's really the call out for me, is to go deep into Ignite content, educate yourselves, and take those valuable messages to our customers. And I think that's me finished. So I'm going to hand over, I think, now to Nick and Ali, who are going to cover security. Any questions though before I?
Yeah, so just on from the prior slide, so it's a reference to SBC. So there's a question as to what that actually means.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Apologies, architect doing the presentation. Session border controller. So think of it as a gateway, in simple terms, between the Microsoft Cloud and the PSTN, or a customer's existing telephone system. And so it's a device, whether physical or virtual, that provides a demarcation point between our cloud and the customer telephony switch, or maybe the PSTN, and it's just a different deployment model for accessing the outside world in terms of voice.
Perfect. And I think please do use the Q&A. We're just thinking there's just so much content, there's so much development that's happening. If you do have any favourites you'd like to deep dive into in future calls, please do post that. And maybe one of the things also we might perhaps do is do the demo, sort of, again, your favourite pieces, Carl, perhaps for the next call. So we're very open to feedback. Perfect. So I'd like to pass over to Ali and Nick as well now.
Nick, do you want to go first?
Cool, I'll cover this off then. Great update. Thanks for that, Carl. Thanks for that, Mark, as well. There's been so much happening at Ignite. It's been a fantastic week. In terms of security, if you're finding yourself bored with nothing to do, then there are 31 sessions just around security on day 2. So of Ignite. So if you're ever bored, then there's plenty out there to do, and we can send you a link to those too. Anyhow, back to the main event. In case you missed it, Azure Sentinel Siemens SOAR is now at general availability. Why I think this is important is this isn't just about security information and event management. This is also about security orchestration, automation, and response. It's moving the game on massively. You probably already know that. The great news is that there's over 12,000 organizations out there already using this. They've ingested 2 petabytes already into the service. So it really is out there and running at scale and is ready for you to start taking advantage of now. In terms of what we're seeing with our clients, it's one of the most requested things that we get asked about when we go in to talk about security, even from the modern workplace team. Everyone wants to hear about what Sentinel is doing, so get yourself up to speed on it. Very aware we're out of time, so let's move on to the next one. Another massively important thing is the view that analysts have of Microsoft. Gartner is very influential still in the world of security to enterprise and SMC customers. A couple of years back, you may have remembered that the 2017 Cloud App Security Broker Magic Quadrant had us down in that little left niche player, which frankly did hurt us. Last year, we moved into Challenger, and this year we're absolutely astonishingly delighted. So this is Microsoft. We're super excited to announce that we are now viewed as a leader in that quadrant. I mean, the progress that has been made in that 2 years is utterly fantastic. There is a blog post around this. You're probably asking, do we have reprint rights for this? Yes, we do. If you go to the blog post that's on microsoft.com/blog/security, you will find everything you need to know about there. I encourage you to go read it, look at it warts and all for yourself so you completely understand Gartner's viewpoint and get into that. It's been a great couple of months from the analysts as well. So this happened in October. In September, we were listed in Forrester's Wave as a leader for endpoint protection. And in August, we were listed as a leader in the Magic Quadrant for Gartner's endpoint protection too, which includes EDR. I'm going to hand over to Ali now to try and feed everything into very few minutes. So good luck, Ali.
Thanks, Nick. So I'm just going to take you through the top 10 security announcements. There was actually quite a lot more. We found an extra one, so we made it top 11, which was a bit of an odd number. So I just decided to kind of leave it as top 10 because it looked a little bit smarter. So the first one is a link that Carl's already mentioned. So there's a book of news which tells you all of the different announcements and all the great sessions that you can actually go and have a look at. I'm going to quickly run through the top 10 from the security side of things that we think is worthwhile you guys going to check out. So the first one is, we talked a little bit already about Azure Sentinel. So we've got some new connectors that have actually come into Sentinel to help security analysts collect data from different sources, including Zscaler, Barracuda, and Citrix. In addition, we're releasing new hunting queries and machine learning-based detections to assist analytics in prioritizing the most important events. So there's quite a lot of additional things that are coming into Sentinel, and we'll be continually adding into the product as we go along. Every month there should be lots of new things coming in. I think the second point that we're going to be talking about is we're focusing a lot more around the compliance side of things as well, to help you look to build out some more reasons to go down the E5 route, and actually have a look at the value that we're actually adding into that SKU. So there's a lot more things around the compliance side of things. So one of the really new exciting ones that's kind of come out from a compliance side of things is this idea of insider risk management. So we're announcing a new tool that helps us identify and remediate threats stemming from within an organization. And that's now in private preview. And this solution leverages the Microsoft Graph along with third-party signals like your HR systems to identify hidden patterns and that traditional methods would likely miss. So I've got a couple of screenshots that I've managed to stick in here. So in here we can see like a nice new dashboard. We can see all of the different pieces that we've got in here, so we can create some unique policies, and we can protect something like an individual project that you might have that you've decided to make as confidential, and it looks across all of the different Microsoft 365 product sets and actually categorizes when people are trying to share those bits of information outside, and rather than just blocking them, actually gathering that information and the heuristics and the behavioralisms behind it and actually presenting that back so that you might have something interesting that you can kind of share within your organization about what people are doing and what they may or may not really be allowed to be doing. So we're actually being able to build cases and things as well to see what's actually going on. So if it really is some kind of a secret project that people are not supposed to be kind of sharing outside, you can keep a really good idea about what's going on. So potential IP theft. So if I look at the next screen that's within that particular new product, we've got this new dashboard called IP theft. So we can actually have a look at what the users are doing in here, and we can see in here what's been shared from SharePoint, what files are being copied, any emails that have gone externally, any tampering that's actually going on. And another interesting one is offensive language detected. So you could use it for multiple different purposes if there was, I guess, a harassment case or something different going on as well. So lots of different uses for that. And then you can actually drill down and see each of the files that's actually being shared and what's actually going on. So if I click on this next slide, we can see in here all of the different files that were being shared that shouldn't have been shared, what they were actually doing, and what was it that they were kind of trying to send out. And from here, we can look at opening an investigation and kind of assigning that to somebody within the data protection team or within, the business that really needs to know about what's actually going on. So really opening that up to kind of a new kind of use case. So let's move on to the next area. We've now got released Microsoft Authenticator is now free. It is part of the Azure Active Directory free plan. So that's great news for all of our customers. So you no longer need the P1 in order to be able to get the authenticator. 3 announcements around Azure AD. So we're now in private preview is Azure AD Connect Cloud. So that will allow us to a lightweight tool to move identities from disconnected Active Directory forest to the cloud, which is really, really great. So we don't have to have multiple different Azure AD connectors configured each time you want to add a new forest. So if you are looking from a client perspective and you've got bought a new business, or you're having to join in different domains for whatever reason, that makes life a lot easier. You don't have to go and deploy Azure AD Connect for each different forest you want to sync up.
Just to riff on that one, Ali, it's something that some of our competitors, or in fact one of our competitors, is making a big deal out of. It's great to see that we've got that parity and actually a more simple experience there too for users. So.
Brilliant. Cheers, Nick. We've got a couple of other things that we're actually looking to do. So we've got we're announcing secure hybrid access with partnerships like F5, Zscaler, Citrix, and Akamai to simplify access to legacy auth-based applications. We're also introducing a new My Apps portal, which I should have tried to get some pictures in here, but that is brilliant. So one of the great features in the My Apps portal is to allow managers. So if you picture something along the lines of you might have a store or a smaller office, we're now creating a new My Apps portal that will allow the management team to be able to go in and add apps for their team. So if you picture somebody working in a store on a weekend, they don't have to contact IT. The manager that would be running the store would be able to go in, add the apps to that particular user. They'll be able to see that My Apps portal, whether they're on a PC or a mobile device or any device really, on any platform. And it's just making life a lot easier for everybody so that the My Apps is simplified, and also from a management perspective, making it a lot easier for the managers to be able to control and support the users. Anything else on that, Nick?
No, I'm keeping quiet on that one, thank you.
Okay. Another new announcement on Defender ATP, which has just popped in. You can actually now see it live if you're in any of your tenants. So we now support macOS, is now in preview. So you can download the clients and actually start playing with Defender ATP on a Mac OS. A couple other different ones that don't really relate completely to the M365 stack, but one that I found really, really useful. So in the Azure Security Center, we can now pick up, add some new capabilities to find misconfigurations and threats for containers and SQL in IaaS, which provides rich vulnerability assessment for virtual machines as well. So that really allows us to see what's actually going on the SQL side of things. So if there's anything we've configured that's not quite right from a security perspective, it's going to start to find those misconfigurations and report back into you what's actually going on, which I think is brilliant. Moving to information protection and governance. So the new compliance in Microsoft 365 now provides the ability to view data classifications categorized by sensitive information types or associated with industry regulations. So we're going to be able to do machine learning, which allows you to use your existing data to train data classifiers that are unique to your organization, such as customer records and HR data and contracts. So that's a really good way for you to personalize what's actually going on the compliance side of things and really use the AI and ML in the back end to make it work for you and make it unique to your organization. The next screenshot that I've got on the screen is number 8. So we've got a new Microsoft compliance score. So it's just broken down a little bit better than just the graph version that we actually had before. So we can now simplify regulatory complexity and kind of look to help ourselves reduce the risk. So it allows us to map continuous monitoring and recommended actions to improve our compliance posture. So that's brilliant news, and you can see the new screen there. So there's quite a few new other little bits and pieces. And again, you can kind of go in and improve each one of those scores and still assign them to different people. Last but not least, we've got the last two, which is the application guide for Office. So we've got a new application guide now in preview, which allows you to potentially protect hardware level and container-based protection for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files. That uses Defender ATP to establish whether a document is malicious or trusted. So it's a good one to go and check out. And then the last one is Azure Firewall Manager. So that's now in public preview. So it's allowing us to manage multiple firewall instances within a single pane of glass with Azure Firewall. We're also creating support for new firewall deployment technologies. And I think there's just one more that I left off that sheet, unfortunately, which was the number 11 that I mentioned before. So there's a new endpoint manager that has come out. So we're now pulling together SCCM and config manager and Intune all into the one panel, and it's called Endpoint Manager. Is that right, Nick?
That's exactly right. Yeah, the other thing to mention as well that might cause some raised eyebrows is that if you have an SCCM license, you get rights to use Intune, so you can start to move people towards the hybrid management in particular.
I'm thinking certainly for potentially next month. I think it's brilliant, all of these updates, and I'm probably thinking from a partner perspective, especially when we've got the risk management piece, and we already have Secure Score, then we have the compliance score and endpoint manager. I think it would be brilliant to sort of show a little bit of that. Where do you go for what piece as well, especially having these newer ones, perhaps for next month.
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
Definitely, yeah. There's also the productivity score as well. Don't forget that, Katrina, which is coming out too.
Yeah. Exactly to my point. Perfect.
Okay. Last but not least, I just wanted to remind everybody about our partner accelerators. So we've now got, from a security and compliance perspective, we've now got 4 workshops that we're working with all our partners that we'd like you to go out there and deploy and help you really realize the value of the E5 product. So we've got 4 actually out there, and one came out this week, which is our new compliance workshop. So we've got the security workshop, which includes the threat check and helps you kind of land the initial E5 value from a security perspective. We've got a bit of a deep dive, which is the security assessment. We've got the security POC, so that's allowing you guys as partners to provide customers with hands-on experience around the E5 product set. And then the last one, which I mentioned, is our new compliance workshop. So that's really looking at all the new compliance value that we're putting into the product and talking about all these new tools. Because if we're actually looking at the value that we can add on the E5 side of things, we've got 2 different conversations, really. We've got a conversation with your CISO, which is around the 3 security workshops. And then we've got a different conversation that we can kind of potentially go out and have with our data protection officers around the compliance side of things. So it's really kind of building out those different areas that people might not have initially been kind of looking at and kind of delivering. So if you have a look at the link below, we've got some nominations where you can go in and actually get a bit more information around those partner accelerators. And there's a load of partner webinars around the compliance workshop, and there's one for each of the other security workshops as well. So if you click on those links and have a go, there's lots and lots of information in there, and there's also some funding that you guys can get back as well if you kind of meet the right requirements. There's a load of funding that we can release to you guys as well. I'm not going to go into the details of each one of those.
It could be up to 5K.
Yes.
You are looking at requirements around 1,000 seats plus or 1,000 user plus, and Exchange Online usage potentially as well there.
Yeah, and I think it's up to 15K for the POC as well. I think I'm not sure if that's ESEF or
yeah. So that would
that's
that would be appropriate back in with our Microsoft account teams to work with them. Cool.
That's it from me.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much. Again, I think everyone would agree there's so much great updates sort of coming, whether it's obviously the SMB, Microsoft 365, Business Voice, Teams update, security compliance. So thank you very much to our wonderful presenters. You know, do keep the conversation going, and any questions you have, any suggestions for future calls on our community site, aka.ms/UK Modern Workplace. But thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you on our next call, which is Friday, the 6th of December. Thank you.